Hi, and welcome back to my series of podcasts about people with purpose. On today's episode, I'm chatting with Alison Kent, who has over 40 years of working in the travel industry. If you've been following me for quite a while now, you may actually recognize Alison from an episode that we recorded back in April last year when we were in the original COVID lockdown. And we were looking at the travel industry, and Alison was still able to sort of help her clients during that sort of first and very difficult time. Um, as that episode was so popular, we had loads of really great feedback. So thank you for that. And because there's been so many different changes and all sorts of things been going on in the world, we thought it'd be a really good opportunity to see how the world of travel has changed since then and what we should be thinking about going forward. So Alison, it's great to have you back on. You're the first time I've actually had a repeat guest, so it's quite exciting for me. So how are you feeling today?
Oh, thanks, Graham. Thanks for having me back. No, I'm feeling really positive. As you know, I'm coming up to my fourth year now as being a travel counsellor, and I've always worked for large companies, mainly blue chip companies. But it'll be 6 years ago in March, my mum passed away, and I decided that I needed to make some changes in my life. And one of those changes was that I actually didn't want to work in central London anymore. I didn't want to commute. I just didn't want to be part of rat race.
Mhm.
So I took a couple of years out. It's the same thing when you come out of travel, everyone says this, you miss it so badly. And I had a friend who was a travel counsellor, and she'd been on at me for quite a few years, even before this period, that I should do it. And then I was approached, I was actually headhunted on LinkedIn from one of the HR people at Travel Counsellors in Manchester. And she said, just come up to Manchester and see what you think. Just come see the office, see what we do, the support that we can give you and all of that. And I went up there and I knew as soon as I walked through the door, it was what I wanted to do.
Brilliant.
And so I went on my course in May, and in May 2017, that's when I became a travel counsellor.
Fantastic.
And that's what I do.
Back in the original lockdown, everything came to a standstill, and that's where we were originally talking. So from that point in time, what's actually changed? What have you seen? I'm sure there's too many things to fit in this short space of time, but what are the big key factors that you've seen in the travel industry, certainly in the last sort of 6 months?
I'll just very quickly talk about the support that we've had from travel counsellors, which I would
Absolutely.
like to,
Yeah.
because I do believe that is a major thing. And I feel for me, probably if I didn't have that support, maybe I would consider a different career. So there was a lot of things put in place. There was financial things that they could do for you. There was funds set up. There was actual counsellors that could help people with their mental health. We had well-being Zoom. We still do. We have well-being Zooms and things like that. And also they arranged, which I actually took advantage of, was a track and trace contract for 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also through travel counsellors. So the contacted travel counsellors, and they said if anybody wanted to do it, we could do it. And I did do that for 12 weeks. So I'm very thankful that I'm part of the TC family, because I think, when you work from home, you can be very isolated. And if you don't have that support, then it can be very difficult for people. But if we look at the travel industry as a whole, there has been a lot of changes. And things continue to change. On a possibly negative point of view or note, there's airlines that are in absolute financial dire straits. And we're talking about national carriers. We do have a list of airlines that we are unable to sell because they have no financial backing at the moment. And you know, this is not going to stop. This will continue. We've seen airlines that are still flying cut their routes by, you know, maybe 3/4. So where they might have had 7 or 8 flights a day, for example, to Dubai, they may only have 1 or 2 now. So we've seen capacity change a lot. And this is what I actually want to stress to people is that, like, you know, if you are thinking of traveling and you are thinking of traveling towards the end of the year or after probably April time, you know, consider looking at getting those inquiries in, because capacity is going to be very, very difficult to get at peak times. We've also seen the way that we've handled our business differently. And what we've done as a company is that we've actually, well, we've obtained more UK suppliers.
Mm.
And to be honest, the UK business was what kept me afloat. So after the lockdown was lifted, which was the 4th of July, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Then we could travel in the UK. Well, I mean, we could travel overseas, but people were still very skeptical. But we could travel in the UK. And we saw the UK market, not just for travel counsellors, but in general, the UK market just went through the roof.
Mm.
And I had some absolute beautiful bookings. A lot of money. People were spending a lot of money, £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 to go on UK holidays because they just needed to get away. And we were able, I mean, we'd always use UK suppliers, but we've got like niche suppliers now that will do things like road trips in Cornwall where you can do like cider tasting and different kind of things like that. Up in Scotland, we can arrange a fly drive and you do the whiskey tasting and you do various other things. So I think as a company, we've actually diversed a little bit. Mm. And there is a huge market out there for there is a huge UK market. And if we have a summer like we had last year, then, you know, I see the same thing happening. And I think we definitely talked about this in our earlier podcast when I said that I thought that, you know, a lot of people would have a UK break.
Yes, we did.
And an overseas holiday. And I still see that happening now. So it has been very, very, it's been very strange. There's been airlines and suppliers that have been better than others in refunds and, you know, just helping out generally. But I think overall, as a company, we've absolutely done magnificently. And, you know, I think for me personally, there's nothing more that I could have done for my clients, whether they were overseas, whether they were here in the UK and I was chasing refunds, you know, chasing credit notes. I think the most important thing for me has been to keep in contact with my client, keep them up to date with what's happening and help them. And not just my clients. I've been helping other people that haven't booked with me. I might not be able to speak to the airline, but I can tell them this is what you should expect. This is what you should go for and things like that. So, and, you know, for me personally, I think that I'm going to reap the benefits of that.
I hope so. It's so encouraging to actually hear some positivity because I know I don't personally watch the news, and I think you know that, but there's so much negativity, so much. Everyone's looking at the downside. It's nice to actually hear that, you know, that there are people out there that are doing okay, and yeah, obviously this is not a disservice to anybody that is struggling, but it gives you hope and it gives you inspiration that, you know, that we can get through this together. And as you've been doing, it is, even though some of these people weren't your clients, you're still, look, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to, you know, give you the best advice. And it's been very fascinating watching things as they've progressed over the past or 9 months, no, or nearly a year,
Yeah.
effectively. I mean, in terms of people actually having the confidence to book and go abroad, um, are you still finding that people are still reluctant to sort of book away because they don't know what the expectations are, what the fear is about traveling abroad, especially with, all the negative news and about the virus and all those sorts of things?
Yeah, and the bookings, as I said, or the inquiries that I'm getting, I mean, the booking that I did yesterday was for one of my lovely regular clients, and they have actually had the vaccine because they are over a certain age.
Mhm.
So they feel quite confident now that, they will be able to travel. When we're doing a booking, it's not just about doing the booking and talking about, where you're going to be going, what airline you want to fly with. I'm also now discussing with them, make sure you've got the right insurance and it's got COVID cover. Make sure you've got that before you actually confirm this holiday, because if you have to cancel, you're not going to be covered if you take the insurance 2 or 3 months down the line. We need to ensure that, if we need to make any changes, what the policy of the airlines as far as we can at the moment. I mean, obviously a lot of these policies are quite advanced, will be quite forward, but we need to, I need to be able to tell my clients this is what's going to happen.
Sure.
So it's not just about booking a holiday now, it's about if any of these situations arise and they can't travel due to sadly caught COVID, or due to the FCO saying that, you can't travel at the moment, you can't go to this particular place. So it's changed the way that we book as well.
Hmm. Do you think that will change the way the vast majority of people will book holidays now? I'm just thinking to the high street travel agent. I would, because I know you and I've experienced and I've met you and I've had you on the show. I would rather go to someone that I can talk to on a face-to-face level and I can pick up the phone and ask questions for, rather than the high street sort of travel agents. Do you think that there's going to be a massive change there as well?
Yeah, I actually think it will be more on web-based
Sure.
travel companies. It's quite interesting. I had a client booked a couple of trips with me last year, and then she wanted to book another trip, and I was actually £20 more expensive than what she could have got online. And she decided to book online. Well, she actually never even got any information from that particular company that her holiday had been cancelled. It was only when she rang up the hotel to check something, they said, "Oh, we're closed until further notice."
Blimey.
Now, I'm not saying that every company does this, but at the end of the day, couldn't email them because it's a generic email. It's one of those emails that says, we won't respond to it. Days and days and days of hanging on the phone trying to actually speak to somebody. And she said to me, "I can't believe for £20 after you booked 2 holidays," which sadly she couldn't go on, but she got her money back and she spoke to me and I kept her updated as to what we would do. And she said, "I can't believe for £20 that I went and did that. I can't believe how stupid I was, and I'll never do that again."
Mm.
And so I've always said that out of a crisis, something good always comes out of it.
Mm.
And I really do think that this year and moving forward, it's going to go back to people want to book with people like me because they want to be able to pick up the phone and find out, or they want to have the situation which I was doing, which was actually contacting them before they'd even contacted me. So, as we know at the moment, it looks okay. You can still travel, but this can change at any time. As soon as I hear anything different, I'll let you know. And so yes, I think there's going to be a big change. I mean, there isn't an awful lot of high street agents now. I mean, Hayes Travel took over a lot of the Thomas Cook shops, and they are actually a very, very good company. But I think it's more the web-based agencies that people will not be so inclined to book with. And actually for 20 quid, it's probably going to cost you that to make all those phone calls and time.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's that the advantage of the convenience and maybe a little bit of cost, but when things go wrong, you don't have that safety net, that protection, that advice, that, you know, as you say, I couldn't think of anything worse, being on the phone for ages on ages trying to get in contact with anybody, whereas working with someone like you, I can just pick up the phone and say, help, and it's that, yeah, leave it with me and I'll get back to you kind of thing. Even if you haven't been able to find an answer, at least you're keeping people up to date with what's going on. I think that's you know, people, I certainly like that reassurance.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it was very frustrating in the beginning because, you know, we wanted to obviously refund our clients as soon as we could, but we had to wait for monies to come back from the suppliers, from the airlines. And a lot of them decided to change the way, a lot of the airlines decided to change the way that they would do their refunds. So it was taking longer. And, you know, I can understand if somebody's booked a holiday, you know, and it's £7,000 or £8,000. That's a lot of money, particularly if they're not working or they've been furloughed or whatever, you know. So I understand that. But I have to say that none of my clients ever complained. All they kept saying to me was, you've got it there, you know, don't worry, we're not concerned about it, we know that you're dealing with it, and, you know, as soon as we get the refund, you know, that's fine. And in fact, a couple of them have put their bookings into a credit situation, so they've decided that they want to keep the monies, but if they had the money themselves, they probably would spend it, so they've put it into what I've got a credit booking for them, so that when they want to book, then we can just go ahead and we can use that money.
That's a testament to you building the trust up with the clients, though, I would say.
Yeah, because most people, I mean, I would want my refunds, you know, but yeah, so that's, you know, but I think for me that, I mean, when we talked in April, a lot of my clients I was still hopeful that they would travel. But it was so sad to see having to cancel these holidays for them. I had one family that were going to Disneyland Paris, you know, it was a big thing with the grandchildren and everything like that. And then, you know, there was other family holidays where the kids were like so excited about going away. And it was actually really heartbreaking to see that.
I could imagine. When you talk about that, I put it in context to me because literally the year before, October, we went to Disney World in Florida. We did the whole thing, and you know, it was a massive expense, but it was so worth it. But I'm just thinking, if that had happened 12 months later, how we would have reacted, how we would have dealt with it. You know, I haven't had a holiday in the last 12 months because of what's been going on, and yeah, I could see that it's tough. It is tough out there for the families and all the rest of it. What sort of advice would you give people now about looking to travel? Because I know there's loads. You know, I'd love to get away, but there's always little fears about, you know, which countries. But I guess it's changing all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very hard, you know, to kind of say when we think it's safe to start traveling.
Yeah.
I would probably say, you know, maybe look from May onwards at the moment, but again, that can change. If you can go towards the latter part of the year, then yes, that I think, you know, we're hopeful and we're very positive that that's going to happen. Christmas, I would say if anybody's looking at Christmas, you really need to be getting that in now, because I'm looking at flights to the Caribbean and they are rammed.
Oh, this is for this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I go back to the same thing of the capacity, the amount of airlines that are going to be out there. You know, even if they are still flying, they might not be flying every day, or they might not be flying the amount of times that they used to fly in any one day. So I would certainly say to people, start planning and start booking now, because I think if everybody leaves it to last minute, it's going to be absolutely crazy. Yeah. And, you know, people are not necessarily going to be able to get what they want. It might actually be a case of me telling you where you're going, when you're going.
I was gonna say something around that, because I can imagine that, you know, I mean, obviously we don't know how the rollout of the vaccines are going to happen, all the rest of it, but I've almost got this image in my head that at some point the gates are going to open, and then there's going to be this horde of people going, right, we want to go on holiday now. We can, and you're like, yeah, but there isn't anything available because the airlines are so behind, and the, you know, the holiday industry, the leisure industry, the, you know, the hospitality industry is going to be so far knocked back.
Yeah, yeah. So that's just one thing that I would say.
Yeah.
You know, think about it now. You know, let's do it now. And again, this goes back to, let's discuss the cancellation policy. Let's discuss if we need to make some changes, how we're going to do those. So we have brought out a new program which is called Flexible Guarantee, which allows you to make changes up till, you know, about 4 weeks before departure, should you need to do it. All obviously subject to availability.
Sure.
But these are the kind of things that, you know, I've been putting on my Facebook, on my Travel Counsellor Facebook page. And these are the kind of things that I'll be using. I did a booking in December, and that was the kind of, you know, that was the property that I used. It was the airlines that I used, because I knew that if we have to make any changes, we're not going to be, you know, we're going to be okay.
Sure.
So, you know, it's a whole different way that we look at booking now.
I mean, it sounded, I mean, I was thinking back to when I booked the year before, thinking just how excited we were to book it. And it was, yeah, we booked it, we're going away. There was never really any, other than we have obviously the insurance, but there was never any real conversation about, well, what happens if this and what happens if that? Those questions go out the window because you're excited about going away on holiday. So it's, I'm sure that's changed considerably.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lovely booking in December, and that was a huge part. She knew where she wanted to go. I just went back to her and gave her the options of the different resorts and that. But the huge part of it was about the cancellation, about if we have to make any changes. So, you know, that was, I think that was probably what we talked more about that than we did about, oh, your resort, your airlines, you know. So it's totally changed. But as I say, I'm very, very optimistic. I'm very positive, and it is going to come back. People have had enough, you know. Some people I know that have got their refunds, and they said that they've put that money away, so that, you know, when they're ready to book, they've got that money. They haven't spent that money. And I think, you know, yes, I mean, I just envisaged that we're going to be really, really, really busy.
I think so. One thing that just sort of came to mind is, what's in terms of prices and things like that, is that fluctuated? Is it up, down, about the same? What's people seeing from that?
Again, it does fluctuate. And again, we go back to the capacity situation. So, and also when you decide to book, So, you know, you would think now for Christmas, oh, you could get a reasonably good fare to the Caribbean. Well, when you go in and you look, so the airline has economy seats, and they have about 10 different booking classes that we can book in for economy seats. And those are filling up. So obviously the lowest, and then you start progressing along.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there are some good offers out there.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what I'll do. I'll look for the good offers. And, you know, maybe I've been suggesting to clients, if they can and they're flexible, i.e. if they don't have to go in school holidays, don't do that. Maybe think about going in a quieter period. Even, you know, maybe think about going in, I'm not saying like the full on rainy period, but somewhere like the Maldives, you know, £3,000 more to go in March than it was to go in June, which is deemed as to be off season. So there's all that kind of thing to take into consideration as well.
Imagine. I mean, and I guess that's why, certainly from my perspective, that's why I'd come and talk to somebody like you, because I don't know a lot of those things. You know, I'd just say, as long as it's warm and sunny, or you might say, well, it is, but there's options around it. That's really interesting about the pricing. Is that the same for the UK? Are we seeing prices come down in terms of like holidays, holiday cottages, those kinds of things?
No, not really.
No.
I mean, to be honest, last year, once that 5th of January hit, or 5th of July hit, or whenever it was, they were just like, normally we'd get like offers come through, but we didn't see any offers in the summer. And again, it was a case of, well, I want to go to Cornwall. Well, actually, you might not be able to go to Cornwall. You might have to go to Devon because there isn't anything in Cornwall. So, you know, I had a client who booked a house in Dorset last year. They loved it so much that while they were there, they actually asked me to rebook it for this year for 2 weeks, which I did. But there was only 2 weeks out of the whole summer holidays that they could get it.
Right, so they were there on holiday, they booked
Yeah.
it for the next year, and there was only 2 weeks left on that. So that's just, that to me shows that there's still a huge demand for UK holidays. I think you mentioned that as well.
Yeah. And what you have to remember is, if you want to book a house or a cottage, there is only one of them. So, you know, if you go to a hotel, you might have, you know, I don't know, you could have 6,000 rooms in certain hotels. You're going to go to Vegas or whatever. But if you think about things like with the UK, well, that's a house. That house is it. Once that's full, that's the holiday full, if you want that particular house.
It's a good point, actually. I didn't think about that you just, because you don't get as many of those larger resorts in the UK, do you? It's all very much the holiday homes and cottages and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, you might have like the caravan parks and things like that, but you know, outside of that, there's the lodges as well, but they were just literally like, you just couldn't get anything. It was so busy.
Yeah, but I guess it's, people just need it big time.
Yeah.
As I said, I felt that Christmas just gone. I needed it. I needed that break because I hadn't had a break for quite some time, and so I can imagine it being like that. Where would you say in the UK right now is, obviously maybe not right now, it's the winter, but where would you say is where would you recommend the most? You know, where do you see the best kind of value, the best kind of deals that you're going to get? Or again, is it too wide a question?
No, I would say for an actual, not necessarily with the best deals, but for the best type of holiday, I would recommend definitely Cornwall, particularly North Cornwall. Especially if you're going to be taking families. You've got lots of things going on there. You know, you can surf, there's all the walks. You've got the Eden Project. If you're up in, if you're up in North Cornwall, you can go quite easily into North Devon. That's one of my favourites. The other one is Wales. Again, Wales probably has been like sort of like the little brother to like Cornwall and Devon. But I think, that there's so much to do in Wales. And these are accessible, from London. If I'm looking at my clients being London based. But then obviously, I think, Scotland, fly up there to Glasgow, rent a car, or to Edinburgh, then go to somewhere like Isle of Skye, anywhere like that. It's really opened my eyes to the UK. I mean, I did a lot of UK travel when I was a kid. I mean, we used to go to Wales 3 times a year, every year, and Cornwall. But it's actually really opened my eyes up, and there's a lot of things that I want to do now in the UK. I want to go to the Orkneys, I want to go to the Isles of Scilly, I want to go back to the Isle of Wight. And this is great because it's not only great for the likes of me because I'm booking it, but it's also great for our economy because it's money that's being spent in the UK. And we need that desperately now.
Yeah.
Definitely. And the one thing that, does concern me, although it doesn't affect me as such, is like, are overseas tourists going to be, are they going to be positive about coming here? Are they going to want to start booking to come here? Because obviously, we've got high COVID rates at the moment. That's all over the news. We know that overseas as well as in the UK. So, we need those incoming tourists, but we also need our own people as well, the domestic market. And that's why I say, if you are able to do it and you can afford it, have the overseas holiday, but also let's put something back into our economy and have, even if it's like 3 or 4 nights in Suffolk.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I love the UK, to be quite honest. I've most of my holidays over the last, probably 10, 15 years have been UK based, for the occasional flight abroad. But Wales, I love Wales, North and South Wales. I love the walking and all the stuff. And there's some great finds up there as well. The people like hidden little gems, like some of the beaches have just been, fantastic. That people don't seem to realise. Yeah. What about, we've talked about the UK in terms of what's good. What about right now, right this minute? Where should I be booking if I wanted to go away within the next sort of, few weeks or few months?
Well, obviously within the next few weeks you can't.
Well, sorry, yeah, obviously within the next few weeks. What I mean is, all right, I can't go away in the next few weeks. Where should
you think about going?
Yeah, where should I be thinking about going right now?
Well, I think in Europe, anywhere really. Greece. I mean, Greece actually had a very good summer because they were relatively unaffected by COVID. And people definitely felt quite safe going to Greece. I always think, Greece is a lovely option. Croatia, Montenegro, Spain, Italy. I just think, it's, if we've still got to wear masks on aircrafts, now I'm not saying we might have to, I don't know, but I think for me personally, I'd be okay wearing it for 3 hours, but I'm not sure I would like to wear it for 8 or 9.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, actually.
So, we have a lot of things on our doorstep. I mean, France, some great resorts in France. So, yeah, the one thing that we've got to remember is now that obviously we are out of Europe. So from a passport situation, we must ensure that we've got 6 months left on our passports, even if we're going to Europe, and our passports can be no older than 10 years. So, you know, when you used to get that extension,
Yeah.
that now has gone. So, for an example, my passport was issued on the 1st of October 2010, but that didn't actually expire until the end of July this year. But my passport no longer exists. It's no longer valid because it's 10 years old from October. So that's another thing that we've got to be aware of. There's a lot of changes here. So, you know, check your passports. I mean, we have a great system at Travel Counsellors where once you book with me, or, you know, I will build up your profile. So I've got all your passport details in there for everybody. Don't have to ask you anymore. And 9 months before your passport's due to expire, we send you a little reminder. But anybody that's thinking about booking, get your passports out and just double check that they are valid. Because again, I think we could end up with a situation with people like, you know, oh, my passport's not valid, and the passport office gets overrun.
Yeah. Having said that, I mean, it might be different now, but obviously it was the year before last. The actual process of renewing your passport seems a hell of a lot easier than it used to be, but it certainly was. It seems so quick. But as I say, at the moment, I don't know. It could be different, I'm guessing.
I've just done mine online, and you still have to send your old passport in. They won't actually start your application until they receive your old passport.
Yeah.
And then once they do, I think it's fairly quick.
Yeah, I think it was within a couple of weeks, I think, if that.
Yeah.
I think it was for me. It was very good.
But I'm just saying to people out there, you know, now we've got these new rulings and you think, oh, yeah. So you always needed the 6 months for the long haul destinations, but for Europe, we were okay. So, you know, there's a lot of things to think about now when booking a holiday. And that's why you need somebody like me, because I will take that pressure off. I will remind you that you've got to get your insurance as soon as you book.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a holiday should be about, though. You know, I don't want to sort of worry about stuff. I want to say, right, I want to go here. I want to do this. You go, yeah, that's fine. And then everything else is dealt with. I don't want to think about this. And nice to be reminded about it, that I need to do something. But otherwise, I'm not going to remember because I'm thinking about the good time I'm going to have, not anything else.
And then somebody gets their passport out and goes, oh, actually, I'm going next week, and it's already expired.
Yeah.
If we're looking at long haul, I would definitely say places like the Maldives, Mauritius, the UAE. I mean, depending on obviously when you're thinking of going, the Caribbean. And, you know, these places may not, particularly Mauritius and the Maldives, there are some good offers about. And as I say, if you tend to go outside of the peak seasons, you can pick up some great bargains. At the moment, what will really excite me is when we can see the likes of New Zealand and Australia open up.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of clients that want to do big trips down there. And, you know, that will be really exciting.
That's interesting. What would be nice if some of those places to start opening up in conjunction with the hospitality and the wedding industry in particular, because I've seen that affect my wedding business in the sense that a lot of my clients from last year and even this year have postponed it for the following year because of the long haul flights and because of those things. They just, well, we don't want to take that risk. But things like that can actually open up or help. You know, oh, we know we can get a flight to so and so. We can now start getting our wedding planned and set dates and things.
Yeah,
so that would be good all round.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, it's difficult. No one has the crystal ball.
No.
But, you know, I would just say now, think about it, start planning. We'll use we'll use airline suppliers, hotels that we know are going to be much more flexible than others. And, you know, even if it is 10 or 15 pounds more, it's going to be worth doing it just for peace of mind. But, you know, don't leave it till the last minute, because I do think that there's going to be, and I mean in the UK as well, I do think that there's going to be a lot of disappointed people if that does happen, because as you say, once it starts, the floodgates are going to open. I mean, you know, you don't realise how much it affects, you know, just Gatwick, for example. You know, BA have pulled a lot of routes out of Gatwick. So it's pretty much only EasyJet that are flying out there at the moment. And, you know, you think about it affects the duty free shops, it affects the bars and restaurants at Gatwick. It, you know, there's so much that it affects, like the taxis, you know, everything, the car parking facilities, the airport hotels. It's absolute, you know, the whole thing is phenomenal. You know, tours when you go away, like say, for example, if you want to go to Vegas and you want to do like the helicopter trip to Grand Canyon, I mean, things like that, you know, because there is nobody there at the moment. It's massive. I don't think anybody really knew how much or knows how much the industry has been affected.
Yeah. It's everything's connected, and I think that there's that sort of, you know, the travel industry, the hospitality industry, but even just like the local businesses that would get the throughput of people traveling through or coming through, the tourism.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. It really is. I mean, Alison, I think we could probably go on for hours talking about all of this kind of stuff. It's what I'm taking away from today is the positives and your positivity, that you are confident that whilst we don't have, as you said, we don't have these crystal balls, you're confident that things are moving, that the industry's changed and adapted to help people book holidays and still travel and build that confidence up. Because I think for me, that's probably one of the biggest things, is the confidence of, I'm always thinking about the logistics. How am I going to get 4 of us, 2 children, 2 adults, wearing masks, going? Sometimes it's almost overwhelmed. And I think, you know, that's where perhaps a lot of confidence building needs to be. And that's why people need to speak to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you are worried about going overseas, then just consider staying in the UK this year and doing something completely different, you know, doing things that are just so different. If you are, but you know, everybody needs and deserves to have a holiday. And I think, you know, more than ever now, we need to see different sceneries, we need to do different things. So, you know, if you don't want to sit on a plane wearing a mask, I totally get that. But like, you know, let's talk about going to the UK and doing something completely different. And as I say, that's a win-win situation, because it puts money back in our economy as well.
Yeah. Which is going to be huge for us for the next few years, most definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you know, I'm always here. And you know, I still get so excited when I confirm a booking.
That's a testament to you and your you know, that's the whole point of this podcast, is your purpose. Your purpose is, you know, I know your history of what you've been through in terms of like your experience in the travel industry, and yet you're still really excited about it, and how you dedicate yourself to helping people. Even I wasn't one of your clients and you helped me out. You gave me some advice about, you know, certain flights and all those kinds of issues. And we did actually get all our money back as well, which is just fantastic. And we would have been probably taken twice as long without some of that advice. So just for anybody, I know it's already on my previous episode, but just tell us the best way to get in contact with you if we are looking to book a holiday. Where's the best place to speak to you?
Okay, so you can go on to my website, which is www.travelcounsellors.com/Alison.Kent. You can send me an email, alison.kent@travelcounsellors.com, or you can call me on 0203 883 7660. And that number is diverted to my mobile when I'm not in the office. So I'll always get back to you. Or I have a Facebook page, so you can send messages through there. Or, totally easy to get hold of me. I may start doing some more blogs on some previous travel that I did in the last couple of years. They do take quite a while to do, and I had, great ideas that I was going to do these in lockdown, but I may start doing some more blogs, so check those out as well. Testimonials on the website, and yeah, just word of mouth really. So
fantastic. It's been an absolute pleasure having you back, and I think that there's a contrast. I'm going to rewatch the episode that we recorded back in April, and watch this one, and to see the vibe and how it shifted and changed. And I know we spoke about what you see as the future, and we talked about actually the UK holidays increasing, and also changing the footfall of how many times people go away on holiday abroad. So it's going to be, I think we're a long way, but I think it's moving in the right direction. I'm touch wood.
Yeah, I'm very positive.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Alison, an absolute pleasure again. Thank you ever so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom about the travel industry. I'm sure plenty of people will get some value from it, and if anything, perhaps a bit more confidence that you can book and be safe as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Graham. Thank you for having me. We'll have to do another one at the end of the year to see what's happened.
Let's do it. Let's book it in now so we know it's going to happen. It will happen, Alison. It's great. As I say, I can now call you one of my regulars. Brilliant. Thanks ever so much. Take care.
Thank you.